going on YouTube? Welcome to another video, and it's another installment of the Rebuild series. Starting off here with our usual SSB squat, and if you've watched the original ER to PR series, basically going forward, I've decided to squat specifically with the SSB, just for the sake of saving my shoulder and my bicep, especially as we rebuild back to where we're at, and then decide what we want to do forward. The SSB is a little bit more comfortable to use. I didn't have any issues squatting with it when I was actually, post-surgery and in not the cast, but the sling and everything. And it's just made training legs so much easier. I didn't have to worry about positioning of the bicep and shoulder and mobility there. So I was still able to hit legs and lift, moderate weights for the time being. And I'm not going to remove it from my repertoire of exercises. Going to keep doing it. Going to keep overloading it and, use it as my preferred method. You're going to see in the video kind of, in this video and the other videos, what exercises I'm doing. And again, if you watch the ER to PR series, I kind of took things out, placed things back in. It was 3 days a week of leg exercises, so there's only so much you can do without burning out your neurological system and then also your muscular system. So these are the things that stuck as I add in the upper body stuff and just various angles here. So working up to 331. Again, always keep an eye on the weights that I'm including in here to kind of understand the progression. Sometimes we're deloading, sometimes we're working up to a peak or whatever, and that should tell you, what direction we're going. Belt squat is definitely staying in, something that I really enjoyed. And really found super beneficial in not only hitting the legs, but also just practicing that squat movement and kind of hitting it more almost like a low bar where you can really sit the hips back and less quad dominant than the SSB, which pushes you forward. That's kind of the whole purpose of the SSB, is to kind of emulate that front squat without actually having to have the bar in a front squat, rack hold, or position as such. You can also switch the SSB around where you are holding in the front, which doesn't really, it's too cumbersome and it's not what it's designed for. You can do it though, but I don't see the need to. I'm getting the work and stimulus I need just from how it's designed to be used. But still progressing the belt squat and doing higher reps on here. I'm just doing 10 to 12. No reason to go heavy on these really, just because the range of motion isn't as great, and then you're not overloading the spine, so you can really focus on that lower body and get those kind of contractions that you want. So been really enjoying these, specifically after squats. It feels like a good combination of movements to do together, and it just really comprehensively hits the entire posterior chain after that SSB. So that's why I really enjoy it. And then you could do it no hands. I prefer to do it with, just because I'm really bad with balance, and honestly when I squat, having that counterbalance of the actual weight on my back helps me get into position and squat. So you can do it either way, whatever works for you. As long as you're getting stimulus and you're progressively overloading, whether that's reps, weight, reducing rest time, there's a lot of things you can do. So it all really just depends on your preference and style of training. Some people like to do high rep stuff, some people don't. I like to do a intermediate combination of both. Before I got injured, I was doing accessories and sets after my heavy stuff of 18, 16, 14, 12 reps, and I would kind of taper down and raise the weight, if that makes sense. You can go back and watch those videos, and that was the training style. So really just training to my taste and whatever I want to do. Keeping the unilateral leg press. I just don't really see the benefit of doing both legs on the leg press, just because the way this leg press is. It's cumbersome to put so many plates on it, and then also the range of motion is kind of iffy, and I feel a lot of stress in the lower back. So you throw one leg on there, you can't do as much weight, and you can really control the movement there. And I'm reminded every time I do this movement how small my calves are. It is the strangest thing. And people have commented on it before, but I think it's just a genetic thing. I've got real long forearms, and then I've got real long lower legs. So the longer the appendage you have, the smaller the muscle looks. It's not as condensed. There's just more real estate to distribute the muscle on there, so that's why it looks the way it does. And it's just really confusing. You have to put in a lot of extra work and be strategic with it. My calves aren't small if you see them in person, though. But when it comes to the rest of my upper body, I have a really, honestly, overdeveloped upper body. And I feel like I've trained legs more in my life than I've trained upper body. And I just happen to be like a hyper responder, respond more to the upper body stuff. So my lats, my chest have always been a more developed point. Same thing with arms. And honestly, I have a short torso. So, like I mentioned with the lower legs, the less real estate your body has, the bigger the muscle looks with development and muscle insertions and stuff like that. It's just, it is what it is. And I'm mixed, but I've looked at a lot of people in Sri Lankan culture, Indian culture. We're all kind of built that same way, just like long limbs and like short torsos, and don't really carry as much muscle mass and tend to have higher body fat than like other, you know, races of people. So I'm kind of a happy medium between the two. Working on back and biceps here, reintroduce the barbell row, and just to reteach myself the movements, I do start with the bar just to kind of get the motion. And then these workouts in the beginning are going to be strategically built up to see how that bicep feels and then decide what the workout's going to be there. As long as I can progress forward, I'm not noticing any pain, impingement, I'm going to keep adding weight to that bar until, not that it becomes worrisome, but it's no longer as smooth, and then I'll reevaluate. So I originally started off with just the bar, added a few weights, and then now I'm up to 85 here, which again is nothing. I've rode 405 from the ground before, so I don't want to go back to those lifts yet, just really explosive lifting with the way that the biceps healing. That will probably be months down the line, and I may not even go back to that. I'm really enjoying the pump I'm getting from, just the rows here. And I forgot to mention I moved up to 95 pounds, which was the goal for today. I just wanted to get to like a solid weight, whether it's 25 pounds or 45 on each side. My whole plan was to just get the motions back down and go from there. And with the body fat I've got, it's weird. I'm hitting my stomach constantly. I'm like looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So really working on that. I'm trying to hit, when I'm rowing, I'm trying to do like a J curve where I'm pulling in with the elbows into the sides and less with the bicep and arm to get a better contraction. And I have been feeling soreness in the lats here. It's a little bit harder on the T-bar row here just because of the position. Like, you can see how short my torso is compared to my legs here just based off of this. There's just not a lot of room for me to get set. And I've seen people use like a platform underneath or like a pad to help increase range of motion. Honestly, I don't really care for that. This is working for me, and this angle looks a lot better, and the range of motion looks better. I'm using a Tamron 17 to 28 lens, so it is wide angle at certain things, and the gym gets busy sometimes, so I'll shift, the how wide the angle is, and it can distort things. But for the most part, I'm liking that 17 millimeter zoom range. I think on my older camera, my A6700, it was 16, which is about like 32, or I'm sorry, 35, because it's a 1.5 time crop, and you were getting it a little bit more condensed, but I actually upgraded it for not only the color science, but just the 4K abilities. I really just wanted the full frame stuff to be able to edit and, practice different color stuff. So that's kind of a side note and a tangent, but I don't mind sharing that stuff in a video. But moved on here to cable curls, or cable rows, I'm sorry. And I'm doing these nice and slow. I'm finding to get that stretch in the lats, you really have to let the lats stretch. So I'm letting myself travel forward and then trying to emphasize that same pulling motion where I'm not engaging with the biceps and hand. I'm engaging with the elbow to kind of, retract the shoulder blades and scapula, and almost like you would do on a bench where you're getting set up. It's the same movement, but now you've got to weight. And if you kind of just do like the rows that most people do, the real high up on the upper chest, you're not really getting the full stretch of the lats. You almost need that curvature downwards. If you ever rode a boat, that's kind of the same movement where you can really drive and get that full range of motion, and then, using the lower body to stabilize, but ultimately getting that contraction with the lats. And It looks kind of funny when you slow it down and try to do tempo stuff because I'm used to just blasting, reps and sets and stuff like that. So sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, man, what's going on? But you can see here, kind of like I'm rowing, into my sides. I'm not hitting my lats. I'm going wide enough to get that contraction into my waist or whatever. But you can see here my body's built really weird. A lot of lower back fat and around the stomach area. So it does kind of impede a lot of the range of motion, which you'll see on the leg press all the time. It's just my thigh hits my stomach and it can't go anywhere else. So as I gradually lose weight and recomp my body, I'm hoping that range of motion extends and leads to greater amounts of muscle growth. But, it is what it is. And then making sure to do my bicep exercises nice and slow with the contraction to make sure we're making that muscle work, getting blood in there. I mean, obviously you're getting it with all the different back and pulling exercises as a supplement and secondary muscle. But direct work is always important. I don't want to go too heavy like it was before and too fast. I want to do these nice and controlled. And honestly, the contraction is a little bit more evident when you do them slower. Longer time under tension, regardless of weight. But the goal is to just keep moving forward and find angles that work. You're going to notice me here kind of shift just because I don't really like this cable set. It's a brand called Fettle, and it's just not quality. But you can see kind of the angle there. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.